Hi. Okay, so I'm sitting here editing the episode and I just felt like I should maybe put this as an intro, but it gets kind of deep and I get pretty vulnerable. And part of me was like, should I publish this? Should I even put this out there? But like, yeah, I'm going to because that's the whole point of why I'm making this podcast. I just want to just give like kind of like a trigger warning, I guess, because I'm talking about body image, and as much as I really try to avoid the words skinny and fat, I really just hate those words so much. I do say them a few times, and I hate that I did that, but that's just what I said. I feel like I was like talking really slow, so I'm sorry about that, but I was just kind of like trying so hard to not say anything that would trigger anybody, or I don't want to say things that could be taken in the wrong context. Honestly, everything that I'm saying are like things that I say to myself in my own head, and that's what I was trying to convey. Like, this is the negative self-talk that I give to myself, and it's terrible. And that's what I was like trying to bring to light, and just discuss that I feel like a lot of women do that, and I just want you to know you're not alone. And like, this is what I tell myself. Hey, we're recording. Okay, we're getting real intimate today. Okay, hi. So one thing I have discovered about the tiny couch is that it's kind of hard to like get a good filming spot. I don't know. Like, I feel like I look so weird. I don't know like how to sit. Hold on. How about this? I'm just gonna sit like this. Okay, whatever. I kind of just wanted to catch up. I hope everyone loved the episode with Ronnie. She is probably the person I spend the most time with these days. If you didn't catch on to that, I hang out with her a lot, so I was very glad that she agreed to let me interview her. We're both very busy right now, but it's nice to come on here and talk and share stories. We just did, I feel like since we did that interview, we had an event. We did an event it was like a fundraiser for the Girl Scouts. We did guest portraits there, and that was lovely. They were so nice. And we did a wedding in Columbus. And this weekend I'm actually off. I think she has a wedding. But then next weekend we're doing guest portraits again. Oh yeah, at the wedding, on the last wedding that we did in Columbus, she actually did a live painting, and then we both did guest portraits. So if you ever want to do that, it is possible. I've had a few clients ask me, and I know she gets asked sometimes. But yeah, she started the live painting, like the ceremony painting. She got there early and started maybe like 2 hours before the ceremony, and then by the time the ceremony ended and cocktail hour begins, which is when we do most of the guest portraits, she came over and joined me, and we did guest portraits. So it was really fun. I just had a lunch date with someone who I'll leave a surprise, but she might be on the podcast soon as well. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to like catch up, come on here, have a little chat. It's raining today. It's kind of dreary. I want to talk about body image. I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a while because it literally comes up in pretty much every conversation I have on a daily basis with mainly other women, and it just comes up a lot. It's in my head a lot because I think like I said, it comes up a lot in my conversations with women. I just feel like as women, it's something that we struggle with. And I think even if you don't think you struggle with it, to some degree you still do, because it's kind of just like ingrained in us to care about what we look like, and it's wild. I don't want it to be a very long conversation, or a long talk, but I just kind of want to like share some insight that I feel like I've gained recently that has helped me with my own body image issues, and maybe it would help you if you are struggling as well. So my background is that I really never struggled with body image until recently, or like I wasn't as aware of it. It wasn't a conscious thought that I felt like I had every single day in my head until recently. So, like growing up, I never ever remember thinking, oh, like I'm too fat, or I don't look good. Like I never really had thoughts like that in terms of like my physical appearance. But I do remember like my mom, or, older women I knew would say, oh, Reagan, you're really skinny. Or they refer to me as, you're really tiny. And I'm talking like ages like elementary school on to high school. And I definitely never, I was like, no, you're wrong. Like I definitely never thought of myself as being skinny or tiny. I just thought I was, like normal sized. Like I said, I never thought I was fat, and I was never unhappy with that, but I definitely was like, no, I'm not skinny like that girl is. And I just wanted to explain that, because that's why I say I never really had an issue with it. But I do remember, like, as I got older in high school, I've always been very pale. My hair is a lot darker now, but I was essentially a redhead and very pale, never tanned, and I would have given my left arm to be tan, because all my friends would get tan, and I just remember, like, reading in magazines and seeing all these things that would say, you like use this like suntan oil, or I don't know. I feel like I tried everything in the book that would make you tan, and no, I would fry every time. Honestly, I was dying to go to like use the tanning bed, but my mom always just was not supportive of that, which thank you to my mom, because I don't think that would have ended well for me. So I never really pushed that. But there were, like, I definitely was jealous of my friends who would go to the tanning bed and just be so gorgeous and tan. And I would always be really insecure about that. I just like I said, I just would have given anything to be like, have that golden, shiny skin. I just felt like my skin was so ugly, because it was, I mean, literally blinding. So that was like definitely an insecurity I had growing up. And then, I mean, honestly, that was probably like the main one. I don't remember ever having like a bad relationship with food, even. Like I would just eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I think whenever I did play softball, so like whenever I was playing sports, they would definitely make us more aware of what we were eating and making sure we were drinking enough water. And I did kind of have like stomach issues sometimes, so I would avoid certain foods. I don't remember ever having like a bad relationship with food. And then college came around, and I definitely gained weight, but I was still pretty small. But I do remember thinking like, that was when I would start, avoiding certain types of bathing suits, or avoiding certain types of clothing, because I thought, well, that wouldn't look good on me. Like I'm too big for that. And, it wasn't necessarily like something that overtook my brain or was like giving me a ton of anxiety and stressing me out. It was just, I just remember those thoughts being like, no, I can't really wear that. And like, that's when like certain clothes would stop fitting me. Like I'm thinking like freshman year of college. Honestly, like, I really don't remember. I do remember like my skin got really bad, and definitely in college I felt more pressure to be like more tan. I was more insecure about being pale because I was just around more tan girls, and we would go, lay out by the pool, and I don't know. If you're pale, you understand. It's a hard life. And I tried the whole like spray tan and tanning lotions. Like, I think I tried all the spray tans, all the tanning lotions, and honestly it just got to the point where I didn't like I hated how it felt on my hands, and how like I couldn't really sit on anything afterwards, and like to me it just wasn't worth it. So I didn't really try that for very long. Fast forward to, let's see, when I'm 28. So this was like last year, maybe 2 years ago. I went through quite the change in life. I just kind of went through some things. I was living in a place where I didn't know anybody. I just started a new job. It just ended a relationship that I was in. And things were a little, I wasn't the most stable mentally, but I was, working through everything. I started working at a retail store, and I didn't really realize until after I wasn't working there for a while, like the effect it had on me being in that environment. I'd worked retail before. I had never had any issues with walking into a store and like not being able to find clothes that fit me. So I just really didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that would ever be an issue. I've always been a solid size medium. Like, I'm not going to fit into the smallest clothes you have, but I will find something that fits me. And if it's too tight, I can always get a large, like that was always kind of like my mindset. But through working at that store, part of my job was to model the clothes. So I would have to try on the new clothes pretty much every shift I worked. And I realized, like, through doing that, through having to try on new clothes a lot, eventually while I was working there, none of the clothes fit me. And it really just like got in my head, I think, because the girls I was working with, they were in high school. They were a lot smaller than me, and they could just come in and try on anything. And they were always, grabbing the extra smalls and the smalls. And I would see them wearing size medium, and it would just swallow them up. And I would just feel so like, I don't know. It just, like I said, it just really got into my head because I would go in the dressing room and try on, the biggest size we carried was a large. I would try on the large, and I wouldn't be able to zip it or get it past my thighs. And, I'd have to walk out of the dressing room and be like, I can't do this today because I don't fit in the clothes. And I just feel like that is when I first really started feeling like I am a cow. Like, I am huge and worthless, basically. And that was, like I said, that was not long ago. And it was like, in the past, I would kind of feel like, oh, I've gained a little weight, but it wasn't to the point where my clothes weren't fitting me anymore, or I could, go run a mile every day for 10 days and I would feel better, or I would just not eat so much or stop drinking and I would just feel better. This was like, I did all of those things and nothing, I felt like I was getting bigger. And like I said, the main thing was I wasn't fitting into any of the clothes at the store, but I also wasn't fitting into the clothes that I had in my closet. Like, I would, Billy and I would go out to dinner and I'd be like, okay, let me just get dressed real quick. And I would literally have a freak out in my closet, throwing my clothes everywhere because nothing fit. And it's almost like visibly things would fit me, but it's almost like I have this like sensory thing where if there's like the slightest amount of tightness around my arms or like in my chest, which I realize like my shoulders are like bigger, it makes it like changes my whole mood. It like ruins my whole day. I just like can't stand that. And that's what was happening. Everything was just like a little too tight or just squeezing me in the wrong ways. And I was freaking out. And it would just, like, I would just cry. Like, it would just make me so sad. And it would make me, I would just cancel the date. It wouldn't be able to like go anywhere. It was terrible. And I mean, thankfully I could, like, I was going to therapy at the time and I could talk to my therapist about it. And she would kind of help me, but it was just very hard. And it was really hard to, I don't think, like, in reality, I don't think anyone else was like noticing it or like talking about it or anything, but it felt like I can't even like show up around my friends or family or people who have known me because I feel like all they're going to do is talk about like how much bigger I am. Because like in my head, it was just like pounding. I was just like gaining weight every single day and it wasn't going away. So anyways, like through struggling with that, I just feel like I've gone through lots of different mindsets and trying to figure out how to cope, because I was like, I'm just going to accept that this is how it is now. And like, this is just part of growing up. You're just like, this is just my body and it's changing and I'm just going to have to accept it. And I can't sit here and be so upset with it like every single day and freak out and not leave the house because I don't have anything to wear. But these thoughts just kind of popped into my head one day and made me have a completely different mindset around it. And the thoughts started when I started looking back at old pictures of me, like pictures from middle school, pictures from high school, pictures from college, and seeing that I was so skinny, like seeing how small I was. And at first being like, wow, I was very small, like must have been nice, wish I could be like that again, and feeling that guilt or shame. But then also realizing when I was that age, when I was that skinny, I didn't think I was at all. Like I legit did not see myself that way at all. And anytime someone would say, oh, you're skinny, I would fight them on it so hard and be like, no, I'm not. And that's when I realized like body dysmorphia is a real thing. And yes, it's true. Like, yes, it was true that I had been gaining weight. I wasn't making that up in my head and my clothes weren't fitting and all that. But the reality of the situation was I probably didn't look that much bigger than I was. Or I probably didn't look as big as what I saw in the mirror. And that was like the first time I started thinking differently. Like, okay, body dysmorphia is a real thing. You know, it's all about perspective. There's always going to be someone who's a lot skinnier than you, and there's always going to be someone that's a lot bigger than you. And that person who's a lot bigger than you is probably looking at you like, wow, that must be nice. And while you're sitting there crying in your closet every day, thinking you can't go out, there's someone else like wishing that they looked like you. And I realized like it just like was a moment I had for a second thinking, you know what? We're all trying to be this like idealistic figure that doesn't exist. Like we're all saying in our head, oh my gosh, if only I looked like that. If only I could be her. Everybody's doing that. I think even the skinniest people I know with the hottest bodies ever, they're looking at someone else saying, oh, I wish I was as talented as her, or I wish I had her hair color. And that, like I said, that just like clicked in my head and I was like, wow, that's an interesting thing to think about. And that's really sad, because here we are, beautiful women, just constantly comparing ourselves to everyone else and constantly wishing we were smaller size. Even working with those girls in high school, you know, I would have these thoughts like, wish I was as small as them, wish I could be like that. But I would see that they would have all their own insecurities too, and none of them thought of themselves as like the perfect weight, from what I saw anyways. I'm not gonna speak for them, but that was just kind of like, you know. So after that, I had a mindset change, and I realized, you know what, one day, like maybe like 5 years from now, maybe 2 years from now, I'm going to look back and say, wow, wish I looked like that now. Or wow, wish I don't know. There's going to be something about me when I'm older that I wish I would have, like, wish I could go back to. And that just made me think of everything so differently. And then I thought about, you know, what about when I'm 80 years old and I can't like walk as well, or I don't have as much energy, or I can't paint the way that I can now. And I'm going to look back and be like, wow, I wish I was, well, one, I wish I was 29 again. Two, I wish I wouldn't have been so hard on myself, because I was beautiful and I had, wow, this is like actually making me kind of emotional. Like, I shouldn't have let all those thoughts get to me, basically, and like society. And so I'm sitting there thinking of all this to myself and just realizing, yeah, that's some real shit that'll make you think. And I'm thinking about how there's so many, I know so many women who are just so beautiful and able-bodied and fine, and I know that they're doing the same thing and they're beating themselves up about it. Like, there's something that they don't love about themselves, maybe multiple things, and they have all these insecurities. And I just hate that we do that to ourselves. Even if, you know, even if you have so much confidence and you exude so much, like, there's something that you're going through or fighting or trying to change. And it's because, like, society wants us to be this certain way and says we're not pretty unless we look like this, or you can't sit like, even like on this couch, like I feel like I can't sit a certain way because I look like a cow, or like, I don't know. It's just insane. And I know it's becoming more and more, like, we're all becoming more and more aware of it. And like the younger generations, I can't even imagine what it's like to grow up in social media like this, where it's just like constantly in your face. But I just, like, honestly, this is therapeutic for me to like sit here and talk about it, because it's just something that I think about all the time, and I want to like talk to it about my friends and stuff, but I don't want to come off as like I'm judging anyone, or like, oh, you shouldn't think that, you know, we all hear you shouldn't think that about yourself, like, you're beautiful and you, like, don't think that. But it doesn't get through to our heads. Like, our friends can tell us all day long that we're beautiful, and our boyfriends and our moms and our brothers, and, you know, people can say that, but you don't, like, it takes a lot to like truly believe that for yourself. So that was the first thing I thought about. One day I'm gonna look back at myself and I'm gonna think, I wish I looked like that again, and like, I wish I would have been happy with how I looked in that time. And then the second thing was when I started like realizing just how much of an impact like society has on us. and how like it's all just like marketing and like comparing. And so I'm an artist. Obviously, I took like art history classes. I looked at old pieces of art, and like if you look at a piece of like Renaissance artwork, the women that are revered as like the most beautiful are not this big around. They're not skeletons. They're not like even close to what we perceive today as beautiful or like hot or attractive. They got a little meat on their bones. And like that was what was sexy and attractive and lovely back then. And also they're all pale. And like the paler you were, the more that was like royalty. That was what was attractive. I think I was also watching like Bridgerton or something. But that's when it clicked in my head, you know what? If I was living in that time period, I would be royalty, baby. Like I would be perfect. And I don't know, ever since I had that thought, I started like really embracing my paleness and just thinking like, you know what? Like if people want to be tan, obviously no judgment. Like be tan all you want, do what you got to do. But I am not tan, and I want to do everything I can to just like be my authentic self. And God blessed me with pale skin. So I'm just going to embrace that. And I'm not going to keep, killing myself in the sun to be tan when it's not working. And I'm not going to worry about that anymore, because you know what? I'm like, this is me and I am pale. And, also about the whole like weight thing. I understand there's health risks once you hit a certain weight, but like you don't have to be this big around to be beautiful. And like I said, it's just like, it's TV, it's TikTok, it's social media, it's these like models that are so tiny. It's like the sizes of the clothes in the store that make us feel like we need to be that size to be beautiful. But like the truth is we are all different weights. And as long as you're healthy and you feel good, don't let like society tell you that that's wrong. And I do think there has been a lot more movements around body positivity and that whole thing, and I think that's amazing, and I hope we keep moving in that direction. But at the same time, I still like see in my own everyday life and in my own head the obsession with losing weight and wanting to be 100 pounds. And it's not always realistic. Like you are not always a person who is built to be 100 pounds and be healthy. So, okay. That was like the second thing I want to talk about. The third thing, which is a big one too, and I think if you are struggling with these things like I am, and if those two things don't put things into perspective for you, this one probably will. So I was thinking back to, when I was skinnier and when I felt better, and, I catch myself being like, oh, I just wish I could fit into this pair of jeans again, or I just wish I could wear this dress again. Like my life, then I would just be the happiest I've ever been. Or I wish I could go back to when I could just eat ice cream all day and nothing mattered. I could drink tequila and not feel bad, whatever. But the truth is, where I stand right now, and he's watching me, where I am right now in my life, I am the happiest I've ever been. I am the most at peace. I feel like I'm finally like doing what I want to do. I feel the most confident, aside from what I just said about how I am struggling with the whole weight thing. But this is like the other side of my brain. I'm I'm confident. I feel like I'm finally like using my talents. I've been an artist my whole life. Never knew how to make a business of that. I have clients who pay me money to do art for them, and I think that's amazing. And I've waited a long time to get to this point in my life to where I can do that and say confidently, yes, I am an artist. I'm supporting myself. I'm in the best relationship I've ever been in. I have the cutest cat ever. I'm very at peace, very happy, very content with how my life is right now. I owe a lot of that to therapy, to just growing older. I have a lot of like professional experience. I've met a lot of amazing people. And I'm just like in a very good place in life. So if the one thing that is like wrong, so to speak, is that I've gained some weight, then, it's like okay, maybe I'm not as skinny as I used to be, but I'm the happiest that I've ever been. So like, if this is just how my body is going to be in the happiest state, then I'm okay with that. I have to just learn to accept that. Back then when I was skinnier, when I was younger, when I was all these things, I wasn't happy. I mean, I was relatively happy to where I was in life, but I had a lot of issues that I hadn't worked out or realized, I wasn't like mentally at peace. So that's a pretty big one too. You might be the biggest you've ever been, or maybe not even big, but just the unhappiest with your body that you've been. But are you happy? Are you content with your life? Like, what's everything else like? If it's good, then I say, this is your body and you need to just learn to love it. Are you healthy? That's me talking to myself, but I'm talking to you too. If you are struggling, but you're also happy. What made me really think about that was kind of talking to my friends who have been on antidepressants, or I don't know, maybe birth control or something hormonal that causes you to gain weight. Because it's like, well, you may be a little bigger than you were, but aren't you a lot happier? And isn't that more important? So I started to be more consistent with being active, and that's another factor. I realized that, so I was counting calories to try to lose weight, and honestly, it wasn't really working. I did it for like 3 weeks, maybe, really didn't see any differences and was just starving. And to me, it's just like, I don't want to do a math problem every time I sit down and have a meal. And it was just too much work. And I realized that, I'm not going to lie. I saw TikTok and it was like, it's not about calories. It's about your insulin. And I was like, what? And it just started talking about like insulin resistance and how if you basically cause your blood sugar to spike 1,000,000 times a day, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So Google all this. But like basically, if you're causing your blood sugar to spike a lot, then you're going to end up being insulin resistant. And then like that's how you end up getting diabetes. I think something like that. But if you have insulin resistance, then you're not gonna be able to burn calories. Like your body's just storing that fat. It's not gonna burn it. So if you're counting your calories, or like you're doing all these things that aren't working, which is what I was doing, and like spiraling every day because I felt like nothing was working, then you might be insulin resistant and you should do X, Y, and Z. So I started just doing these things because I thought I was kind of desperate. I'm like, let me see if this works. So I completely cut out processed carbs. I don't think necessarily, like, I don't really believe that you should always like just cut things out of your diet. I think restricting yourself is kind of, it's not always the best route, in my opinion. But in terms of if you're trying to eat foods that aren't going to spike your blood sugar, you need to eat more balanced meals, more whole foods. And to me, you know what? I just was like, I'm just going to cut out bread and pasta basically, because I was eating like sandwiches every single day, toast every single morning, pasta every single dinner meal. Like I was eating carbs like crazy and just not really thinking about the fact that those are still processed foods and they do spike your blood sugar. Anyways, so I just completely cut those out just to like see if it would make a difference. I started walking 2 miles every single morning, and then also walking like at least a mile after I eat lunch, and then like maybe half a mile after dinner. Just walking more throughout the day and being more active. And I haven't like officially, that's another thing, I haven't weighed myself since like September. I just don't think you should like obsess over what that number is. I think you should strive to like feel better in your own body. For me, my biggest struggle was that I just was not fitting into my clothes. So all I wanted was to fit into my clothes again. And so I started doing all those things with like, you know, wanting to lose weight in mind. But what surprised me was that it just made me feel so much better mentally. And I mean, to this day, I don't even like, I cannot confirm that I've lost weight, but I just feel so much better. And I do feel like I'm finally like burning calories, being active. I do think I had like insulin resistance because I just felt like I just felt like so big. And I felt like there was just like fat like on me, and it just like wasn't going anywhere. And I like, that's what was just making me like lose my mind. And I feel like it's fine. Like I feel lighter. I don't feel as if it's just sitting there. I do feel like it is like burning away. But anyways, all that to say, I also really hate that word fat. And I really try to avoid it in terms of like obviously describing someone, but really just like myself. Like I'm not talking about other people like that. It's just like myself. Like I don't want to say anything about myself being or feeling fat, because the more you like tell yourself that narrative, the more you're just gonna like mentally beat yourself up. Whew. I feel like I've said a lot. But yeah, like I said, I just feel like more and more as I get closer to getting older, that the conversation about body image comes up a lot. And it's like, even if you don't know, like even if you're not like, ladies, let's talk about body image, it just creeps in. It's like, oh, well, like you could be out shopping and then you hear, oh, that's another thing. Working in a retail store, you hear women just constantly like, I can't wear that. I can't wear that. I cannot wear that. No, my arms are too big. My thighs are too big for that. I can't wear that. And it's just like, I just hate it. I hate it so much. And I do the same thing. I'm not saying I do not do those things. I, of course, do those things. But it's like, why? Why do we think that? Why? Who put these thoughts into your head? I just hate it so much. Also, I feel like I should address that something that would really trigger me is when, and I just like, this is just kind of like another point that I wanted to add, but something that used to really, or still kind of does, but something that would really trigger me when I was like in such a bad headspace with body image would be like if I saw someone who I just assumed because they were a lot smaller than me or like weighed less than me, if I saw them complaining about their weight, it would just like send me I don't know, it would make me so upset. And I feel like a lot of us do that because we think, oh, well, she has nothing to complain about. And that's kind of like that's another aspect of the whole, like, looking back on yourself and thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I would have said that. Because that's the thing. It's like someone out there is looking at you as someone who has got it all together, who's got the perfect weight, who, like, clearly doesn't have body image issues because she looks amazing. Somebody is saying that about you. Guarantee you. So just remember that. And I definitely can relate to being triggered by someone who you're jealous of complaining about their weight and all that, but we got to stop this altogether. But, like, the main thing is we got to stop comparing ourselves to each other. And, like, you don't know what someone else is going through. And yeah, that's really. And, like, if I could just do anything to, like, younger women out there, it would just be to, like, repeat all these things that I've just said in this podcast over and over and over again. Like, one day you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, I was actually, I could have worn that shirt. Like, my arms are not big. What the heck was I thinking? Or I could have just, like, gone out with my friends and gotten ice cream with them. I didn't have to, like, beat myself up about not being able to go, like, enjoy dessert. Maybe one day I'll, like, I'll do an episode about, like, having a toxic relationship with food. But this could honestly be, like, a 3-part series. But I just wanted to, like, talk about those main things because I feel like for me, realizing things like that, it just put everything into a new perspective for me. And at the end of the day, like, all we need to do is embrace our authentic selves and stop beating ourselves up for, like, the gifts that we've been given. Like, my pale skin, I hated it my whole life, but, like, that's my skin, and I have to embrace it and think, you know what, this is, like, my beautiful pale skin. Or, you know, my hair, I've always wanted to, like, dye it. I always wanted to be lighter, blonder. But I have to just, like, embrace that this is my natural hair color and I have to love it. And all the other things about my body. And, like, I challenge you to do the same thing. Instead of looking at your body, looking at your face, looking at things on you and saying, oh, only I didn't have these wrinkles. If only I had, I don't know, more hair, I would be happier. I would be prettier. I would be more confident. Instead of saying things like that, maybe just start saying, I love my thin hair. This is my hair. I love my thick hair. Listen, I have thick hair. I complain about it every single day. Ask my boyfriend. But I know there's people within here who wish they had hair like me. And it's just like, that's just another example of we just want what we can't have. And I hate it. And I just wish, like, it wasn't the case. So I'm here to tell you that you're beautiful. And I really just want you to believe that. And I need at least, like, all the girls that I know in my own circle, like, if I personally know you, you are beautiful. Even if I don't personally know you, I don't know why I would say that, but, like, you know, I just want you to know that you are beautiful. Your pale skin is beautiful. Your dark skin is beautiful. Your eyes are beautiful. You, everything about you, your thoughts, your talents, it's what makes you you, and that's what makes you unique, and that your uniqueness is your gift to the world. And I'm saying that to myself right now. I'm saying that to you. And I just hope that this really reaches someone who needed it. And I just want us all to love everything about ourselves, love our bodies, and stop letting comparison and the TikToks and the commercials and the ads and the clothing stores and everything just tell us how much we need to change, because we don't. So yeah, also at the end of this recording, my recorder just like died, so that's why there was an abrupt ending. But yeah, that was kind of emotional. So if you made it all the way through, honestly, I would love to know your thoughts. If there was something I said that you can relate to and that you want to talk about, please, you can DM me on my Instagram. It's either Reagan A. Rowland, RaeganARowland, or the Tiny Couch Pod Instagram. It'd probably be the easiest thing to do. Just message me there. Or, if there's something that you... I apologize for trying to get all scientific with the whole insulin thing, but that was pretty accurate to, like, how I perceived things. So, I just wanted to, like, share that tidbit of knowledge. But, something I said was really off, please let me know, and I will make sure to address that. Don't want to be spreading any false information, just trying to share my own experience and my own story. But I would love to get your feedback, and if this helps you in any way, also let me know that as well. Thanks, y'all.